I never expected to still be here at this time in my life. I thought by now, in my 30s, I would have figured things out. I'd finally be in a stable place. I'd know what I'm doing with my career. I'd be living the life of my dreams. But instead, I find myself starting over again. Like, what really am I doing with my life? For the first time in my life, I'm really thinking about my age, and it sounds so serious. I don't know if you've seen that TikTok trend about when the age you're turning this year is so serious. And I just really thought that I'd be further along by now. I remember when my mom asked me that how come I had worked 3 jobs in 5 years when my brother had had the same job for 10 years. She wasn't trying to compare us, she was just trying to understand why I was just moving up and down from all appearances. And I told her it was because my brother's career is pretty much set. His career path, his career ladder, it's pretty much set. He's an architect. He already knows, like, you do this, you do this, you do this. But I was working in online content, which at the time was still a very new field, and it's still kind of new because just when you think you figured something out, like, you have to learn something new. So it's a pretty uncertain path and career, because I was basically building out something that was unprecedented. I was a pioneer, and I was just figuring things out as I went. I'm not new to the uncertainty. It's just that sometimes it feels like do I know what I'm doing? Like, what's going on here? And even with the uncertainty of that career, 10 years after building a successful media career in Nigeria, I decided to leave my home country to go and study filmmaking. And it was the scariest thing I've ever done, because I was already in my 30s at the time. And I was starting afresh in a new place, in a new field, with new people. And I remember after my first class, I was surrounded by people who were like 10 years younger than me. And I was just like, okay, what am I doing here? And after like 2 weeks of hearing like new things completely about like filmmaking, editing, learning how to build some cameras that look like they could be cars, I remember running into the bathroom and just wailing after 2 weeks and saying, oh my gosh, Jola, why do you always have to be trying to start something? Why can't you just sit and just be satisfied with what everybody else is doing? I remember when my classmates found out how old I was, like, they were in shock, because as you can tell, I look fantastic. I believe age is nothing but a number. I'm sorry, because I know that the person who sang that song had used it as an excuse to be a pedophile. But I do believe that. I do believe that your age shouldn't stop you from, trying new things, from doing new things. And as scary as it is, I'm so grateful for the steps that I took in my 30s. And as uncertain as my journey in filmmaking has been, I started settling. I thought that, okay, at least I have another path. I know what I'm doing now. And then out of the blue, that journey itself, started to take a new turn, and I find myself here just starting over again. I was thinking towards the end of last year to, optimize my LinkedIn just to attract career opportunities and to build my network. And I asked myself, okay, who am I going to say I am? What am I going to say I do? And I honestly cannot quantify my career aspirations or my career goals or the name of my career. Like, I can't give myself, this is who I am. Like the way you say I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I can't say. I don't have one word or one sentence to explain what I want. To be very clear, to be very honest, I know exactly what I want to do with my life. I've known for a long time. Like, I found my journals from 10, 15 years ago, and they contain the exact same thing as the stuff that I write now. So it's not about not knowing what to do with my life. It's just that what I want to do with my life doesn't seem like something a serious person will want to do, because it doesn't have a clear path. There's no, oh, I have these smart goals that are going to take me there. It's mostly showing up and doing some stuff that seems illogical and then hoping that things work out. And I consider myself a serious person, so it's always been weird for me to say, okay, this is what I want to do with my life. But as I've just been thinking, in this direction about how, like, really, Jola, when are you going to settle down and just pick one thing and stick to it? I remember watching a video of Isari talking about how it used to be so awkward for her to meet up with her old classmates and her contemporaries, because everybody be talking about oh, I have this PhD, or I'm a diplomat now, or I'm a successful lawyer, I've done this really big thing, and she would just be like, oh, I'm making a bunch of YouTube videos. And I always felt like, okay, I mean, she said her friends were always very encouraging, but she just felt really bad about it. But today she has a very successful production company, and the takeaway from that video was that everybody's walking on a unique path, so don't compare your path with somebody else's. And I'm just understanding that now. I'm not a failure because I'm not settled in my 30s. I'm not a failure because I'm starting over in my 30s. This is just my own unique path. And I know that it looks like I've had so many new beginnings and so many, just bobs and weaves. And it's almost like, okay, you're doing all of these things. Like, when will you pick one thing? But I feel like everything is going to merge into a very clear path eventually, and it will make so much sense. And I'll see that, okay, I was actually really building something, something that nobody has built before. So I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and she asked me if I would reconsider going back to practice law, since it's like a certain path and I know exactly what I have to do. And the very thought of it gave me palpitations, because that's why I don't want to practice law. And that's why I never practice law, because I don't want to do something that some old guys decided 300 years ago I should do. As uncertain as being a creative is, as uncertain as the media has been, despite the fact that I've had to start over a bunch of times, and I'm starting over again in my 30s, I love the adventure. I love the adventure of building new things, of innovating, of just not knowing what could possibly come out of something. I don't want to walk on a path that has already been decided. I want to build a path. I want to participate in my own destiny, and so no, I'm not going to go back to practice law. As scary as it is to, be a pioneer, I love it so much, because some of the people who built the world were pioneers. They're people who started new things and taught us new ways of living that we never thought were possible. And that's what I want to do with my life. Well, that's part of what I want to do. So maybe I don't have a name for it right now, but eventually everything will make sense. Yes, starting over in your 30s is scary, and sometimes I'm so anxious I can't sleep, and I don't know what I'm doing half of the time, but I know that one day it will make sense. It's like Oprah says about how God can dream a bigger dream for you than you can dream for yourself, and I'm living in God's dream for me. The fullness of it hasn't come to light yet, but I know that it will. And as much as it's uncomfortable in the middle, it's uncomfortable just having to pick up and rebuild. Just when you thought like you figured it out, you have to rebuild and do something new. As uncomfortable as it is, it's also a great adventure, and I can't wait to see where it leads. So if you're like me and you're starting over in your 30s, or you're just not where you thought you'd be by now, have faith. You're not a failure. You're just on a different path than other people, and eventually your path will make sense. So don't compare yourself. Trust the process. God is doing something beautiful with your life. He's writing a beautiful story, and I know that one day it'll make sense and you'll be grateful for your own unique path. Take care. Bye.